So there's my husband, myself, Ruby, who has passed away, Tilly, and we now have a new little family member, Lottie. When Rubes was diagnosed, it was 10 days after her 6th birthday. And Rubes had been sick for quite some times with a cough and just weird symptoms and just wasn't right. And it took us 8 weeks nearly to get a diagnosis, back and forth from the hospital, doctors, everything. And when we finally did get the diagnosis, none of us could believe it, because whoever thinks that their child's going to have a brain tumor. So once we got the diagnosis, Rubes did the radiation. She couldn't get on any clinical trials. We had to buy the medication from Germany. That cost us over $40,000. And it was taxed upon that. Once it gets through customs, you have to pay tax to get it out of customs. And Rubes only survived for 5 months. So she had a very short, fast DIPG journey. Rubes and I were literally twin flames. She looked like me, acted like me, always called herself mini mummy. She would always follow me around and want to just help me or be with me, and was always next to me no matter what. We didn't tell Rubes that she had a brain tumor. She definitely knew something wasn't right, which was really sad, because she was the happiest little go-getter thing. Always had so much energy and love and just happiness to give everyone, and to watch her slowly fade away isn't fair. I'm a pediatric nurse, and my auntie's a pediatric nurse practitioner, and she's been nursing for a lot longer than myself, and she's only ever seen one patient with DIPG. But that's not to say that it's because it's so rare. It's because the patients, like Rubes, never spent a night over in hospital, because there's nothing the hospital can offer them. So as nursing staff, you don't see a lot of the DIPG world unless they're very, very sick and stuck in hospital. So I was very blindsided that it was DIPG. When we got the first MRI and they said that there was a mass in her brain, I stupidly thought, all right, well, brain cancer, let's get this, we can solve it. There'll be chemo, there'll be radiation. Like, I thought that we'd have a chance. But with DIPG, there's no chance. You get nothing. Rubes was diagnosed with DIPG, but so were we. DIPG is not just a diagnosis on your child, it's your whole life. Our whole life is DIPG now. We had no support from the hospital. We had a beautiful oncologist, and he did everything he was able to do, but the hospital system doesn't support children with DIPG. We actually got a letter from their head OT of the oncology department at our hospital that stated Ruby would die before she was able to get support. We had no extra supports. We couldn't get palliative care services. We couldn't get NDIS. We got nothing. And then we got no clinical trial. We had to pay for our medication ourselves. I've heard other parents say that they want to end their lives and not be in this world anymore. And that's not okay, that there's no support. The funding is what is needed. It hasn't been funded for over 60 years, and that needs to change. One DIPG child dies every 2 weeks in Australia, and that is unacceptable. I think in the early stages, you're so bombarded with information, and a lot of families aren't as, I guess, fortunate as myself to have a medical background to really consider all the information that you're given. I think you need to gather all your information, talk to multiple sources, get support from your friends, families, from doctors, get second opinions from doctors, reach out to other DIPG families. There's amazing support groups on Facebook. We've got an Australian support group that a lot of us are a part of, and give so much information who have been through the journey. Try and reach out to other parents and learn from their experiences, because a lot of the time the doctors in the hospital don't have the answers because there are none. As soon as a child gets diagnosed with DIPG, there needs to be a template as to what each hospital follows, and it needs to kick in the day of diagnosis. Because with DIPG, from the day of diagnosis, your child is dying. And that's DIPG is a promised death upon diagnosis, no matter what. And it needs to kick in from the oncology point of view, from the physiotherapy, from the OT, from psychological, from funding from Centrelink. It needs to be a whole list of things that kick in at the day of diagnosis, so that poor family that's trying to spend their final moments with their child don't need to be spending their time researching how to help their child. And so many other cancers get so much recognition and support, financial, psychological, because these bigger foundations have the funding to do that. Whereas DIPG is the cruelest childhood cancer. It's the deadliest childhood cancer and the cruelest childhood cancer. So I never will understand how it's the forgotten cancer.